Hey everyone, we are on chapter 15 of Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money. Chapter 15 is called Nothing's Free, which is obvious, but how does that apply to money? How does that apply to investing? How does that apply to psychology? Well, if you want good returns of your money, there's always a price to pay. And what he gets to in this chapter is that the reason most people are really, really bad at investing is because you can't see what the price is when you're starting to invest. If you're not involved in investing, then it's very easy to say, oh, buy and hold and follow all these other rules and everything. But when you're actually in there, it's much, much harder to do. So I'm going back to that old analogy I always use, which is Mike Tyson's analogy. Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. So the market's going to punch you in the face. Now, what are the actual fees you pay for investing? Well, basically, it's volatility. So that's the psychology. How will you react when you see your holdings decreasing in value? Will you be calm and just think, oh, buy and hold, it'll go back up? Or will you panic? Most likely you'll panic. That's what most people do. And you'll start selling, you'll start pulling out. And there's lots of schools of thought, about how to best invest. But if you look at the stats cited in this book, then the best way is just to buy and hold. And there's a couple of really good examples that Morgan Housel gives here. There's a company called Monster Beverage, and between 1998 and I think 2018, so 20 years, something like that, or it might even have been less than that, but it was within a 20-year period, Monster Beverage went up 315,000 times. So every pound you put into Monster Beverage, if you just bought the shares in 1998 and held for 20 years or so, or 15 years or however long it was, you'd have made 315,000 times your money. Every pound would be worth, or every dollar would be worth 315,000 pounds of dollars, which is a massive, massive, massive return. It's one of the biggest returns in history on stock. All right, and then there are other examples. So between 2002 and 2018, I think 35,000 times the return for Netflix, and then the S&P 500 in the 50 years up until 2018, that increased in value 119 times. So there are three things. You could have put your money in, kept it in there, and you'd have done really, really nicely, right? But people don't keep their money in. This is where the psychology comes in, because when you're losing money, you will panic, you will pull out, rolls out the window, my very good advice and everything's just gone out the window because I'm scared. So he gives an example of General Electric. Now, General Electric was it was corporate royalty, the best returns, if Wall Street was expecting 25 cents, he said the General Electric would return 26 cents. And the guy in charge while all this was happening was Jack Welch, who's written a book straight from the gut about his time in General Electric. General Electric was the world's most valuable company, like $3 trillion or something. But then from 2008 to 2017 or 2018, the shares went from $40 to $7. All right, so that's a big decline. What happened is in 2008, the financing division of General Electric basically went into the toilet. It got into lots of trouble. It was eventually sold for scrap. And then he said subsequent bets on gas and oil were disastrous. What had happened there is Jack Welch was creating an illusion of smooth returns, basically investment returns without paying the price. The price is volatility. If your stock price is doing this, up, 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 continuously, be suspicious, all right, because it should do this. It's never going to be a straight line. I'll tell you who gave straight lines. Bernie Madoff gave straight lines, 12% a year for how many years in a row. Yeah, you fall for that, you're stupid. But you know what? Greed makes people stupid. Jack Welch did that. So then what happened is after his amazing performance, where he admits in his book, straight from the gut, that he massaged the numbers. If the shares weren't going to return what Wall Street wanted, then they'd start selling cars to each other. Or they chip in 10 million here, 20 million there, just to massage the numbers. Fannie Mae, the mortgage people, they were doing the same thing. They were underreporting returns by billions of dollars a year, so they could spread out those returns, or sorry, those earnings, to create the impression of smoothness. So shareholders would think, "Ooh, smooth returns." You know, it's different this time. It's not a Bernie Madoff. It's not retards, right? So anyway, bad news. The people now who had General Electric, the 10 years since 2008, they're basically paying all the price for that should have been paid by shareholders, whilst Jack Welch and the boys were massaging all the numbers. Really good analogy he gives here as well. He says, let's say you want a new car and you've got three options, right? The car costs 30,000. So your first option is you can pay 30,000. Second option is you can buy a cheaper used one. The third option is you can steal the car. You know, you want the car without having to pay the price. That's what people who think they can just invest smooth. They don't want to have any pain. They won't have any, oh, the price is going down. Oh no. Oh, I'm not a genius. Oh no. That's stealing the car. You're not going to get the returns without paying the price. The price you pay is not the price of the shares, or the price of the investment, or the price of the fund, or whatever. It's not chickening out when the price goes against you. You have to take volatility. It will go up, it will go down. When you're losing money, it's like getting kicked in the nuts. It's happened, I know. If anybody watching this is an investor, you know when it's going against you, it is like having your nuts stamped on with high heels. It doesn't feel good. I don't know how that feels, but that, you know, it's an analogy for you. And if you're a female, I apologize. It's like being kicked really hard. It never feels good. Okay? So here's a good example. So this is from the book as well. Morningstar, some, you know, I don't know who Morningstar are, but they they did an analysis of what's called tactical funds. Now, tactical funds look to get returns whilst avoiding volatility. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound like trying to steal the car, right? And their plan is basically you invest in stocks, and when the stock market's volatile, you invest in bonds because they're not volatile at the same time as stocks, apparently, right? So Morningstar, they did an analysis in 2010 to 2011 where the stock market in America was, you know, going down the toilet. There was a recession. So this is exactly when tactical funds should have been really good, right? But they all underperformed, with the exception of 12, I think, or 9, with the exception of 9 out of 112 funds. They all underperformed what would have happened if you just left your money in the S&P 500. Simple. And, you know, smart investors, they try to do the same thing. They buy in and they buy out, they buy in and they buy out. They generally underperform just sticking with it by at least 5 percentage points. It's 1 to 2 5 percentage points. It doesn't matter. They underperform it. All right. So the lesson is, if you were to base an investing strategy on this, what would it be? If you're going to buy shares, just hold them. You know, don't worry about your money disappearing, going down. And to me, this sounds crazy, but this is what's based on the book. And really, it's talking about the psychology more than the strategy. I think it's called the psychology of money, not the strategies of investing, right? Buy and hold. So invest what you can afford to lose. Simple as that. You know, oh, here's 10 grand, I can put it over there. And if it goes to 5 grand, I'm not going to wet the bed. Yeah. And then if I stay like that, if I have that testicular fortitude, then it might go to 50 grand, you know. It might do I probably won't, but it might do a monster beverage and go to 5,000 times what, 315,000, and you'll be super rich, or at least your children or your grandchildren will, yeah. But there you go, really good chapter about paying the price. You have to be willing to pay the price. He starts the chapter by saying, the secret to success with a lot of things to do with money is just knowing what the price of it is and being willing to pay that. So why aren't people willing to pay the fee, the price, with investing? Because you can't see it, you know. And then he gives the example of Disneyland tickets cost $100 each, and millions of people are willing to pay that because the price is up front, and they think, yeah, I'm going to have a good day with my kids. But the price of investing is not up front, so when it arrives, it's like a fine. Oh, I got fined, I didn't see that coming. Investing hurts, and you've got to be willing to get kicked, stamped, punched. But if you stay in there, according to this chapter, that's the psychological aspect of it. Know there's going to be a price to pay psychologically, you know, because you've already paid the money, right? So think of it as a sunk cost when you buy shares or you buy a fund. But the psychological price, fine, fee, whatever you want it to be, is that feeling of, oh shit, you know, what am I going to do? Well, you're going to wait, according to this strategy. So good chapter, I think, because it really does look at the psychology of successful investing or anything in life, you know. figure out the price you're willing to pay for something, and then pay it. And then you'll probably get it. All right. Anyway, that's it. Another chapter to follow.